You said something really astonishing to me. You said that this change in our breathing has only happened in the last 300 to 400 years.
Mouth breathing during rest.
What
Yes.
what happened that caused that change to occur? What is it that made us change our breathing?
So the question is, how did people switch from predominantly nose breathing to mouth breathing? We believe it's due to processed foods. Processed foods and sugar have been around for a long time. Sugar has been around in the UK. It was when they unearthed skulls from upper middle class people in the 17th century. And that's when they had the first documented cases of malocclusions, which is overcrowding of teeth. Overcrowding of teeth now has become endemic. Why is it just the human population that is overcrowding? Okay, you will have a small percentage of animals, especially dogs, which we have kind of crossbred as well. But say in wild animals, it's not very common to have overcrowding of teeth in the wild animal population. It's more so because we've kind of interfered with the dogs' diets and everything else. It's thought to be linked to sugar. What's the relationship between sugar and causing a change to the immune system? Well, the biggest prevalence of mouth breathing is by nasal obstruction. The nose gets blocked. Now, we know that the nose gets blocked due to overbreathing. How do we know that? Because we show individuals how to unblock the nose by softening their breath. If you start reducing your breathing, carbon dioxide builds up in your blood and your nose opens. That's just a normal physiologic thing. As you reduce your breathing, carbon dioxide builds up in your blood and your airways, lower airways, they start to open. And also there's less cooling and drying out of the lower airways. So there was a very good book written back in the 1930s. Now, people may criticize a little bit because of the scientific protocol, but back in the 1930s, there wasn't as rigorous a scientific approach as there would be today. But the book is really an observation. It was written by a Dr. Weston Price. He was a dentist, and he was fascinated with jaw sizes, shape, faces, the shape of faces, the shape of jaws, malocclusions, etc. He went to various indigenous populations, Maoris, Eskimos, Aboriginal, the Gaelic people off the Hebridean Islands. And he noticed that all it took was one generation of a switch from a traditional diet to a processed diet. Within one generation, structural changes happen to the face. And I believe that these structural changes are getting worse and worse and worse. My mother and father had facial structures. They had no malocclusions, they had good straight teeth. All of us were mouth breathers, 6 of us, all mouth breathers. I was born in 1973. I was a mouth breather, my nose was constantly stuffed. My nose is bent, my upper jaw is set back, my lower jaw is set back, so I would be an ideal candidate for obstructive sleep apnea, which I experienced during my teenage years, but it was undiagnosed. I was exhausted, nobody put the connection together. Now my daughter is missing 2 teeth. So my mother's face and father's face were wide. Our faces were narrower, and my daughter's face was the jaws are even narrower. Because congenitally, she's missing 2 teeth. She's got pseudogenesis. She's 7 years of age. I had a scan done because the adult teeth are always sitting just above the baby teeth. So a scan will reveal, and there's 2 incisors missing. If there's missing teeth, there's a high risk of obstructive sleep apnea. It's so important for normal development of the jaws and face because airway trumps everything.
Wow.
If the airway is not doing what it's doing, there's going to be sacrifices made in the body and sleep is affected.